black rhino way over there to our left. Try to get a good look. The okapi, the one that was on our right with the striped legs, is the only known relative of the giraffe. They were originally thought to be related to zebras because of the stripes, but they have the same skull shape as giraffes. They're going to have the same brains as well with these to grab onto leaves and branches. And the males are going to have ossicones on their heads, just like giraffes do. Actually, discovered by the Western world until 1901. It was on that animal was first described to Western researchers. They thought it was a mythical creature. Here's got the head of a giraffe with the legs of a zebra.
Oh wow, he posed for that.
This black rhino is going to weigh in around 3,000 pounds, which is actually pretty small as far as African rhinos go. Others are going to be much, much larger. And just a couple years ago, there were about 5,000 black rhinos left in the world, but thanks to conservation efforts, those numbers have doubled. There's still a lot more work to be done though, because they don't have any natural predators. Their biggest threat's going to be humans. Rhinos are often poached for their horns because they're believed to have medicinal qualities, but they're actually made of the same material as our fingernails. Those horns are just made of keratin. So far, now we're going to make our way down to the Safi River valleys. You can see some animals that like to spend their time in and around the water. Some grayish white birds up here. These are pink-backed pelicans. We'll also get a glimpse of some Nile hippos in the water. Try to find some more up ahead. These pelicans, the skin on their back's a beautiful pink color that becomes more vibrant during their mating season. It's how they get their name. They're pretty large. They're going to have up to a 9-foot wingspan, so about the same width as the canopy above your head right now. Some more Nile hippos over here on our left. They're going to spend the majority of their day submerged to keep themselves from overheating, really only coming out of the water at night. It's a little bit cooler out, so they can race on land. And once a hippo goes underwater, they tend to be there for quite a while. They can hold their breath for about 6 minutes. Because of that, they prefer to travel by sinking down to the bottom of the water, walking along the floor. They can move pretty fast that way, about 5 miles per hour. On land, hippos can run at speeds up to 35 miles per hour. They can sleep underwater if they want to. They can close their nostrils and their ears. They have a natural reflex that's going to bring them to the surface right here, sings them right back down without even having to wake up.
That would be pretty cool. Rhinos probably don't go underwater.
You'll see a giraffe.
Yeah.
One year you ought to be the night safari out here. The tour,
Do they make
that,
it look like
they found
Despite it being a renewable resource, water scarcity is still an issue all around the world. On every single continent, there are people that don't have access to clean drinking water. A lot of our water nowadays is being used up by data centers, which are pretty much just big buildings filled with computers. They get really, really hot. They need a lot of water to cool them down. What's stored in those computers, anything you send to your cloud storage from your phone to your computer, does have to exist somewhere physically. That's also going to be where the brain for any artificial intelligence systems live. By asking ChatGPT to write one essay or generate one image, you're basically just dumping out an entire bottle of water every single time. Not even counting the millions of gallons used training those systems in the first place. And a recent study showed that in 2025 alone, artificial intelligence used just as much water as the entire bottled water industry, and emitted the same amount of CO2 as New York City.
giraffes if they're here? We're coming up there.
Headed out onto the savannah, this big, wide open space. Unlike the forest, there's not a lot of hiding spots out here, so a lot of the animals do have to be pretty fast. Or at least standing within the first hour of their lives.
No, it's walking. Oh, it is over on my side first, please.
All these trees out here are roughly trimmed to the same height, and that is going to be giraffe height. They're the tower of the side giraffes out here. They stand between 16 and 20 feet tall, with their necks alone being about 6 feet long. Like all mammals, they have the same 7 vertebrae that we have in our necks. They're just much, much larger.
They can drive in there.
Well, we're driving around.
Side giraffes get their name from the region in Africa that they're from. It's referring to their spot pattern. If you look at the spotting guide above your head, you can find a reticulated giraffe up there. Their lines are a little bit more neat. And they spend around 18 hours of the day eating. When you do that, it doesn't leave a whole lot of time for sleeping. So giraffes only sleep for about 30 to 90 minutes each day. And they won't even do all that at the same time either. They're just going to take them a little power nap to make that up. And 20 feet down is a pretty long way to go. It's going to put them in a very vulnerable position. They tend to avoid it as long as they can, which is why unless a giraffe is super comfortable in their environment, they're typically just going to stay standing even if they're asleep. And over here on our left, we have some African painted dogs resting in the grass. These dogs are very group-oriented animals. They're constantly working together and communicating, and because of that, they're some of the most successful hunters out here. A pack of those dogs is about 4 times more successful than a pride of lions. Hartman's mountain zebras up here. Mountain zebras are the smallest type. They also have some pretty small hooves that help them to climb and traverse the mountainous terrain they're native to. And kind of tucked away in the corner to our left, there's some dark brown animals with skinny horns, but hidden back there, those are sable antelope. The emblem of the Harambe Wildlife Reserve, because when they hunt, they're going to stand their ground and protect their herd just like we protect the animals out here. They have those horns that point backwards, protecting them from predators attacking from behind when the full herd is threatened. They're going to form a circle, all facing outwards with their noses pointed down toward the ground. So those horns are up and out. That's going to protect that herd from all angles.
I think it is. There's one walking. Walking over by the... Oh, it's going towards the... I think so. So they're like, hey, those are your maybe they're smells like look, he's over here. What's up here? Here he is. He's look up close. Super close.
And those things on giraffe's head, those ossicones, they're called that because ossification is the process where cartilage turns to bone. So when a giraffe is born, they're going to be made of cartilage, they're going to be malleable, just like our noses or our ears. But by the time they reach adulthood, they're going to solidify into bone.
They may not let an animal on it.
Oh my god.
Right by the bush line, sorry, there's one little brown and white antelope sitting over there. It kind of looks like a rock. But this is springbok. They're one of my favorite animals out here on the reserve because they're just so small but so mighty. Springbok are only going to stand around 3 feet tall, but they do this thing called pronking, which is where they jump up off the ground with all 4 legs. They can go 6 feet up and over 10 feet forward from a standstill.
Yes.
I wonder if that's the animal.
Get a pretty close look at this giraffe coming up here on our right.
Wow, look.
Look how big it is.
I got a very young giraffe coming up here on our left.
The baby one.
I say young and not little. The giraffes aren't ever really little. They're going to be born standing around 6 feet tall, same height as your armrest right now, and those adult giraffe legs, they do grow pretty quickly. By the time they're a year old, they're already about 10 feet tall. That one can't be any more than maybe 3 or 4 months. Up here on our right, got a cow by the palm trees. It's an Ankole cattle. They're the only domesticated animal to live out here amongst the wild animals on the reserve. They're seen as a symbol of wealth in parts of Africa. The more Ankole cattle you have, the wealthier you are.
Cow over there somewhere.
Now it looks like we're headed into elephant territory. They love to act like bulldozers and knock trees over and out of the way to get the leaves on top once those giraffes have trimmed the bottom. Looks like quite a bit of that has happened here.
They're going to be back around these trees. They're
you're able to see this African elephant. They have those big ears shaped like the continent. Those ears are going to act like their own ear conditioning system. They're filled with blood vessels, so when they flap them, it's going to promote circulation and cool their entire body down about 10 to 15 degrees. Let's see if we can find some more elephants a little further down the road. Like a lot of the other animals we've seen out here today, elephants are an endangered species. This is in part due to poaching practices, but an elephant pregnancy also lasts almost 2 whole years. It's around 22 months, and they just can't make up what they're losing. They have a huge appetite as well and a tendency to raid crop fields, and some farmers have started to retaliate against them for it. So Disney researchers partnered up with some farmers in Kenya to figure out what they could do to help protect those animals. They found out that elephants are afraid of bees. They have very sensitive skin, especially around their trunks, and that makes bee stings pretty painful for them. So the farmers started putting up beehive fences around their property, and this worked absolute wonders. The elephants would hear the bees and stay as far away as possible. This kept the crops safe from the elephants safe from the farmers. And the farmers also owned the honey produced in those hives, so it worked out pretty well for everyone. And being the largest land mammal, elephants are going to have some pretty big babies. They're going to be born weighing around 250 pounds and standing 3 feet tall at the shoulders. They'll nurse for around the first 2 years of their lives, and that's about when their tusks are going to start growing in. All elephants are going to start their life off in the same way. They're all going to be born into a family herd. That family herd is going to consist of all the adult females and all of the children. And it's going to be headed by the matriarch, which is the oldest female elephant. And once a female's born into a family herd, she's probably going to stay with it for her entire life. Males, however, when they mature in their early teenage years, they'll either go off on their own or they'll join a small bachelor herd, normally switching back and forth between the two.
The bump made it go
Looks
off.
like the elephants are putting on their sunscreen.
Uh-oh, they're going in a puddle. They're driving in a puddle. Oh, see? Oh, good. See a puddle.
Daddy, can we drive in the puddle?
Look at that elephant, too. He's eating.
We didn't talk about the play in the wall.
This is the flamboyance of greater flamingo. They're called greater flamingo because they're the largest type. They're also going to be this lighter shade of pink. They get their coloration from the food that they eat, which is brine, shrimp, and krill. When flamingos hatch, they're still gray fluff balls, but as they get older, they'll lose those gray feathers, gain some white ones, and slowly turn to that gorgeous shade of pink.
They're wild ducks.
I don't think necessarily.
No, animals of the Africa. I
Looks like
think
there's
these are all the ones
been
in
some
here.
rock rhinos around here recently. They roam rolling around in these mud wallows. It offers a form of sunscreen, a bug repellent, and a way to cool off. And just like the black rhinos, their horns made keratin, just like our fingernails. So if you look at the bottoms of the trees or some of the rocks, you can see they're kind of rubbed away or coated in mud. You can often find rhinos using trees and rocks like nail files on their horns, and also just use them as back scratchers.
Going in the puddle. Going in the puddle.
The baby puddle.
The cheetah over here on our left, their spots are good camouflage in shady areas. If we follow the hill all the way to the left side, there's a super dark tree and a rock in the corner. Just in front of the rock, there's a cheetah over there, spacing away from us.
Oh, yeah, I see
So
it.
keep an eye out for
Okay.
some more cheetahs up ahead here. They're the fastest land mammal. It speeds over 60 miles per hour in only about 3 strides. They They can't keep their top speed up forever, though. Run the length of 2 football fields, or about 30 seconds. They're more sprinters than marathoners.
Go back in.
It's hard to control your body when you're running that fast. They do have a couple tools to help them with that. They have those long tails that they use like a rudder on a boat to change directions. They also have non-retractable claws. Their claws stay out 100% of the time. That's going to help them gain traction while they're running. That way they're not slipping and sliding all over the place. They're not built-in seats.
Right there, you see its tail stretching behind the legs.
There might be a lion up here on Daddy's side.
I mean, yes, but not
So we found some of the white rhinos up ahead here. Gonna be on the hill. Probably got a rhino. I mentioned that 3,000 pounds is pretty small. These white rhinos weigh around 5,000, making them the 3rd largest land mammal just behind African and Asian elephants. Just make sure the ones are fully seated. The name white rhino is actually a mistranslation. Has nothing to do with their color at all. They're originally called white rhinos. White is Afrikaans for wide. That's because they have a wide, flat top lip that makes it easier to graze out here on the grasslands of the savannah. The black rhino that lives in the forest is eating mostly off of bushes. They have a pointy, prehensile or finger-like upper lip. Ostrich up here on our right. These are both females. Females are going to have gray feathers. Males have black and white ones. They're the largest bird. They can stand up to 9 feet tall. These ladies are a little closer, about 6, maybe 6.5 feet. They're kind of at eye level with me when they're standing up next to the truck. We'll get one more look at the rhinos too. Now, those ostriches are flightless, but their wings are entirely useless. They can run at speeds up to 40 miles per hour. So they're going to use those wings to help them change directions while they do that.
Yeah.
Like those ostriches left a couple of eggs up here on our right-hand side. Just like chickens, ostriches lay eggs whether or not they're fertilized. Each ostrich egg is going to weigh about 3 pounds. That's going to be the same as 2 dozen chicken eggs, and the shells are pretty sturdy. A grown adult human can stay on one without breaking it, since baby ostriches have a lot of work to do before they can hatch.
Have pieces of trees and rocks. Daddy's nose.
Have to head around the warden's post, which means we're almost back to the village. There's one more type of animal to see out here today. The warden has some Nigerian dwarf goats. Since they're dwarf goats, they're going to be smaller than other types, which makes them awesome for conservation. They're going to take up less room and less resources. They also produce pretty sweet milk that can be sold for high prices, so they're good for the economy too.
The ones in the trunk, so lumpy. The one in the trunk. They're hiding in the trunk. It's so cute.
They would escape. Conservation is our main message here at Animal Kingdom, so if you want to get involved, the best thing to do is just to continue educating yourself. You can follow different conservation efforts on social media to see what's going on around the world as well as near you. You can also help out by recycling. Things like cans and bottles. You can also recycle your old cell phones when you're done with them. That can make a huge difference to animals like elephants, mandrills, and gorillas. The batteries and small electronics like cell phones contain a mineral called coltan, and it's found in the Congo River Basin. So it's going to put those animals at risk for habitat loss. And a lot of phone companies already have a program in place where you just trade in your old phone when you get a new one. So it's super easy, super convenient. It would make a lot of difference for those animals. And if you want to see more African animals today, like gorillas, you can head on over to the Gorilla Falls Exploration Trail to go just by the exit of the safari. It's a 15 to 20 minute guided tour. Researchers will answer any questions you may have. It's also completely accessible, so you're welcome to bring strollers and wheelchairs all the way through. And if I have any wilderness
now the river journey.
Symbol 1, Gorilla Falls is where you'll be headed to get that safari badge. And I think there's going to be 3 more places on the badge trail as well.
I might want to.
Gorilla Falls is going to be the underwater view of the hippo pool. It's really cool to see them swimming around. You can also find some meerkats, snake and mole rats, colobus monkeys, a couple more okapi. Type of zebra, just a bunch of awesome animals all along that trail. Take a moment to look around, make sure you have all your belongings so you don't lose anything on the truck today. It was pretty bouncy out there. So just make sure everything that started in your pocket is still in your pocket.
Oh, there is a monkey up there.